Good evening and welcome along again. We're back for the second week of Football Manager and it is part 6 of our Wigan Athletic Beta live stream series. We've got League 1 action today after getting through a couple of games off camera in the Cups, and although they were pretty close and a little bit nervy, we did get through them both positively. Samurai, hello, welcome along. Thanks for popping in this evening. Do appreciate it. It's great to have you along. Lovely to have a few of you waiting as well. It does make such a difference. Thank you for your incredible support with the videos again the last week or so. We've gone past 1,500 subscribers today. It's a week since I went past 1,300. It has been a bit of a whirlwind. So thank you for your support. I'm glad you're enjoying the head coach. It's almost at 100 after an hour and a half. It's remarkable. So thank you, thank you, thank you. L Gaming, good evening. Nice to have a regular in. I do appreciate all your support and it's great to have you here this evening, because we've got a pretty tough run of fixtures. We've got Oxford, Bristol Rovers, Lincoln in the league, Shrewsbury away in the FA Cup second round, and possibly Sunderland, depending on how long those four take us. We've then got the busy Christmas period, and we've just got to start to play out with 6 days remaining how we're going to get through the fixtures. 36 league games and 1 more in the Cup. So 37 over 6 days, we're going for 6 a day. So I might have to play 1 or 2 off camera, but we'll get through the majority. So we're basically back to play Oxford today. 2 sides that have had an okay start, nothing spectacular. And the table's just very tight. Burton Albion running away at the top despite a very mediocre goal difference. Something which unfortunately intrigues me. So we're going to go and have a look at that. How have they got +3 from 12 games but are that far clear? They lost 3-0 to Blackburn, 5-1 to Plymouth and haven't lost any others. That's remarkable. And then won nearly every other game 1-0. Incredible stuff. Blackpool started well early as well, so maybe our loss to them before the internationals wasn't so bad. That was our last game actually in the last episode. Thank you to everyone coming in, nearly at double figures already. Absolutely brilliant after 2 minutes. Ash, hi, welcome, good evening. Good to have another face along. Samurai, yet to watch the head coach. Was going to, but decided to catch the stream for the first time. It's good to have choice and good to have you along. The head coach will be there long after, so I think you've made the right choice. But let's go and get into this first game. We've played 2 games off camera, the FA Cup tie and the EFL trophy match. The second one was a dead rubber, of course. Against Havant, it took extra time, but we did win 2-0 with a rotated side. Joel Lynch and Jack Clark with the goals. And in a 2-2 draw against Tranmere, Garner and Roberts were 1 apiece. Roberts saved the day with a great free kick. And then we got through after a penalty shootout. So 2 points there, but we still finished bottom of the group, I'm afraid. So into the league games, we're not in a terrible position. We win the game in hand, we'd be 7th. And considering we were expected to finish bottom and the takeover came late, and as I say, for those who missed the start, we couldn't sign players for the first 4 or 5 weeks. We couldn't even get free agents in because we weren't paying the wages. New owners in, a few signings late on, and things are looking lovely. So there we are at the moment. They're recommending changes, but we are not going for them. I've brought Satut back into the team. He's going to be an important one today. He's coming back in after an injury. Thank you for all the thumbs up as well. Please do chuck one on if you haven't already. But I do appreciate your support. Wrexham takeover completed. I knew L Gaming would be in with that. Certainly plenty to be excited about. Can you check on Nelson Ago, Ash? Yeah, I'll have a quick look in a second. And Carl signed Noel Ennis for Queen's Park. Is he any good? He's a youngster from Wolves, isn't he? I remember him being quite a good player. Let's go back and have a look at those 2. So, if I go in order of comments, Noel Ennis was first. He's at Burton here at the top of the league. 9 goals in 9 starts in League 1. I hope that answers your question. Good finish at electric quick. I'd probably like a bit more composure, but everything else is great there. And then Nelson Agho. I'm not sure he'll be in this one. Let's have a look. He is. Port Vale. Not bad for a 17-year-old at that level. He'd certainly be knocking on the door of the first team. He's probably National League standard, I'd say. Maybe sort of mid-table National League. And at 17 years of age, he's got all the physical attributes. And he's got an okay personality. So with the right mentoring group and the right amount of football, I think he'd be a superstar. He scored 9 in 18 for their youth team in game. So I would say he looks pretty good, to be honest. Charlie, in with the food questions. Favourite Mexican meal? That's a cracker. I would have to go... on their day, probably enchiladas, because there's a Mexican restaurant in Clacton on Sea. Obviously, I haven't been able to go for a couple of years now. It is knocked out the park, by far the best in the country. It is brilliant. But pretty much any Mexican meal I can get dug into. It's one of my favourite cuisines. Unfortunately, the area we're in, there's not really anyone great. Legend on FM20, Agbo. Yeah, he looks a good player there as well, to be fair. URL Gaming. Wrexham all over the news. They're on BBC's homepage, which is remarkable. They do sound genuine. I mean, it's a very interesting one. What I will say on that is the main sponsors of Wrexham. My word, they've picked the right year to be sponsors, haven't they? Because they are going to get so many... Their website will be crashing at some point from that little advert that the two of them did, Reynolds and the other lad. They were absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, if they're genuine and they do it the right way, as we've discussed on here before, it could be a massive positive for the club. But back to Wigan Athletic, we've got Billy Gilmore in starting again. Just the one sub-appearance in the FA Cup for him. We were going to start him in the trophy, but then he was on international. So he has played for Scotland under-21s. We've got Satut back in. He's coming back after his injury. Abate's on the bench if we need him. We've got Palmieri back. Offerbor's back. Evans has switched to box. And I've put Tunnicliffe on the bench ahead of the hero, Palmer. Because he had a couple of poor games here, Palmer, after that brilliant display at home last time. Who was it against? Northampton, where he scored both goals. But Tunnicliffe's been the best trainer for 3 weeks in a row. So I want to give him an opportunity and reward that culture in the club. So into the first game, it is Wigan Athletic v Oxford United. Probably going to be a tight one. We'll see how it pans out. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a good victory in there. Lovely to see more faces popping in. Tom, why a couple of years? It's not been around that long. Just the year before, we didn't know it was coming, did we? I spent most of the time going around the country with you watching new football matches and seeing new grounds. Waiting for Deadpool 3 at the Racehorse grounds. Presume, welcome along. Good evening. Craig, Tom, the same. Thank you all for coming in. I'm thinking of doing a Wrexham save once my main series is over with. I mean, if you wait till the January update, so March time, it would probably be in the game by then. And I'd imagine you'll see a lot of those series on here. I'm guessing now, I mean, we talked about it, haven't we, L Gaming, for a little while, about a Wrexham save. But ironically, now I'm probably not going to be able to do it because there'll be so many of them on social media, on YouTube, streaming on Twitch. There'll be hundreds of them. I mean, the only positive is I could probably try and tempt Ryan Reynolds to come on a live stream, but I'm not sure that'd work out. Might get a few more people in. I said they'll be making more than ever. Yeah, absolutely. Qualify for the Champions League with Millwall, 4th season. Blimey, that's a pretty good achievement. Well done on that. Thoughts on guacamole, Tom? Proper fresh, absolutely lovely. The cheap little pots you get in the supermarket, nothing. So basically, if you get restaurant quality, it's great. But I'm not a fan of the mush they sell for £1 in Asda or wherever your local is. I've probably just got demonetised for saying that. There you go. So make sure you watch the adverts on the video, because I'm going to need that after this one. You think they're making a documentary on it as well? Yeah, I mean, you're going to be I said this in the last stream. You're going to be one of the most supported British football clubs in the US. It's going to be incredible. Ryan Shotton's long throw. We talked about this on Sunday. The long throw's in. We've scored from a long throw directly. We waited a few games for it, but Ryan Shotton is delivering. And there you go, Carl. We've nailed the tactic now. I said I'd been working on it in the international break. I hope it is, but my game's already started. No. And Miles Jacobson already confirmed that because the takeover's been ratified but not confirmed and done, he can't put it in the game. So it won't be in for the initial one. The data lock was yesterday night. So obviously it hadn't gone through at that point. All that's happened at the moment, and let's not get too excited, is that the fans have said, yes, you can take over. The actual changeover of hands hasn't gone through yet. And hopefully they'll keep the fans' trust involved in a minority capacity. It'll be great to watch Wrexham series. Yeah, I'd definitely recommend them now, won't you? You won't need to be recommending them anymore. Hopefully you'll still stick with me as well. I won't be doing Wrexham, but there'll be plenty of fun on there. It probably changes the network save me and Craig were going to do. Unfortunately, because there'll be so many of them about, we won't get a look in. As Clark's in behind, he's shot straight at Eastwood. We have had the better of this game, but Oxford have had their chances, and we will have to think about subs soon, particularly with those coming back from injury. He is superb at them long throws. We've definitely proved it. Shot and learn from you. I said this on stream the other day, Craig. I don't know if you were here. I said bar Rory Delap, whether it be in Football you see on the TV, professional or amateur, yours is the best long throw behind Rory Delap's I've ever seen. Shotton's chasing you now, but for your other attributes, your long throw is one of the best I've seen in football, and I will make no bones about that. Off the balls into the box, we've got a penalty kick here. Billy Gilmore to take it. Oh, wow. He's the best penalty taker by a long way. This could be a massive moment for him, a massive moment for us. If we can get the young star playing, he's not had a great game, and he will have to come off physically soon. So Gilmore steps up into the corner. Billy Gilmore off the mark for Wigan. A brilliant loan deadline day signing by a director of football. And with 75 minutes of football in the bank, things are looking positive. 2-0 to Wigan. We'll just see out this highlight because of my superstition, and then we'll make some changes. Gary, hello, welcome along. Do you think this year's version of the game is easier or harder? Early doors, I'd say easier. I think the head coach is slightly harder, particularly the off-the-pitch stuff. The director of footballs are more realistic, which doesn't help you at a lower level. As we'll see over the next week or so with Breakin in the head coach, and obviously as we look for a job in the summer potentially. Kind of depending on how these episodes go. I won't spoil today's ones for anyone who hasn't seen it. But in terms of the on the pitch, this save I've been a bit inconsistent, but otherwise I would say Bangor's hard to judge. We expected to do well first season, and so far we are. But otherwise, I would say it's been slightly easier than I expected on the pitch. But I can't imagine a huge amount's changed on that. They are keeping the supporters' trust in some form. Good stuff, and you'll be sticking with me. Nice to hear. Your club Derby is in the middle of a takeover as well. Got some rich dudes behind the club. Yeah, it was the cousin of one of the sheikhs at City, wasn't it? We talked about it on the podcast. I've got to be honest, and I don't mean this as any offence. We've done lots of managerial specials, like when Koku was. Exactly, there you go. So we did a podcast on that. And some of the Derby fans were a little bit deluded in my eyes. We've done ones with Sheffield Wednesday and things like that. And most fans were still sensible. But one went Eddie Howe's beneath us, which I thought, really? One said Nigel Pearson's not... I mean, Charlie suggested Nigel Pearson for coming back for a second stint. And he said, there's absolutely no chance of that. He's already managed us. And I said, well, that's great. I said, but... And he said, do your research. Whoever does well in a second spell at the Championship. So then I pointed out that Nigel Pearson got Leicester promoted in his second stint. Tony Pulis with Stoke in his second stint. Nathan Jones' second stint at Luton's going pretty well. For those of us that support Luton. So, yeah, we've had a few problems with Derby fans this week, but I'm sure you're not one of them. It's been the first club where we've really had that sort of reaction. And I found it a bit surprising, because I went to a Derby game in January. You won 1-0 at home to Hull. It was a terrible game. But the fans were fantastic. And it just surprised me a little bit. It caught me off guard, that. But most Derby fans, as I say, have been in the comments, have been sensible and sort of understood where the club is. But I hope the takeover goes through. I hope it goes well. And I hope you get a good manager in. I'm a bit worried about Rooney's start to management, but it looks like your game's going to be off at the weekend with Bristol City. I know they say it's going ahead at the moment, but I can't see that lasting, to be honest. We've just nearly conceded a goal there. Got to watch out at the back. You told me this was going to happen to me last year. I'd say, no way. Yeah, it's been a strange year. That's what I have put in it. Definitely so. He hates Chester. I don't know about that. We don't do hating, even the rivals here. There's a non-league, every club's going to need to survive. So even if it's your rivals in non-league, don't hate. Because football's worse without having your rivals about. Easier. I was sacked same day as Koku was with Derby. So when did you get... How are you doing in the league in comparison? That's my question. We've scored a third here. I've got to be honest, I didn't even see it. But it looks like Callum Lang's ended his goal drought, which is absolutely pivotal for us. Because he's been on a goal drought for some time. We even started him against Havant and he couldn't get a goal there. We've also blown away the clean sheet, although it looks like that's offside. So we've just survived it, 3-0. Eddie Howe would be a good manager, I think. Nigel Pearson, I do agree, but he probably won't come back. I mean, the reason Charlie suggested it was off the pitch, because of all the mess going on. The takeover won't be going through any time soon, I don't think. He just said you need someone who's going to stand up to the boardroom rather than a yes man. Whereas he was kind of suggesting that because Rooney had been looked after at Derby, he was potentially going to be a bit of a pushover to an extent, and he hasn't got that experience. But Derby have picked unproven managers well in the past. In fact, Koku's probably their first proven one for a while, and it's the one that hasn't worked out. It saves any hassle from fans, like Cardiff changing to red and nickname Red Dragons. The owner had to change it back. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They've gone back to blue and the harmony's back in the club. They reached the playoffs. And it's a shame because Cardiff were at a good point there. But then obviously the Malky Mackay saga came about and it all went wrong. But Neil Warnock saved the day. Basically, if they follow Luton style, you'll go places. Yeah, there's a few good examples, to be fair. I hate to say it, Fleetwood's not a bad example. I know they had a little year or two where they went off the wagon. Barnsley obviously back in the Championship, but I probably wouldn't sell quite as much as they have. But yeah, Luton's example from National League to Championship is probably a blueprint for sides at that level now. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it'd be lovely to see Wrexham v Luton in the Championship a few years after in non-league, wouldn't it? We could do that 20 years later from... Well, it might even be 15 years, mightn't it? From National League to Championship fixture. So we've won that game. We're up to 9th as it stands. Still got that game in hand. Oxford did score in the end. Liam Kelly getting a goal. But a really good start to the day. I think that's the thing now. Because the chat's so active and I'm having such fun talking to you guys, I'm probably going through a bit slower than I would normally. For those who are familiar with the bigger streamers on YouTube and Twitch, they've got like 2 or 3 screens set up. So they can read the chat, they can talk, they can play the game, they can do whatever else at the time. I'm old Billy One Screens over here, so I can only see the chat or the Football Manager, which is why I'm slow to process some bits. 14th in the league, aim was top half. Why are you getting sacked that early if you're only 2 places off the top half? I mean, the squad you've got, as you say, it's probably a bit ambitious. But Koku's having the same problem there. And as we said the other day, he's probably had, it looks like he's had a lot of the decisions taken out of his hands. And the form does coincide with when Rooney came in. And you have to wonder whether he was being set up from it from the start. It certainly looks like it. And he wouldn't be made interim manager if they didn't plan to make him manager. I'll be honest with that. So we're just waiting to get through. Thank you everyone coming in. We're up to 15 again. Zorro, welcome along. Appreciate all the thumbs up. Please chuck one on it if you haven't already. If you haven't yet, make sure you catch up with the head coach after. We're coming towards a frantic end to the first season there. Matchday Vlog and me mention it for months to you if we win. You might be able to, at that stage, we'll be a few years down the line, we could do a joint Matchday Vlog with the podcast channel. Zara, what have you missed? Just the first game. We beat Oxford. Ryan Shotton's long throw set up a goal. Billy Gilmore got off the mark for us. And we threw away a clean sheet in stoppage time. But otherwise, pretty good start to the day. So I'm just looking to see when the next first team fixture is. I think they're 2 a week now. They are. So we've got Bristol City on Tuesday. So as a result, I'm going to rest Abate from the reserves. Will Keane can play for them. He's nowhere near the squad. And the same for Dan Gardner as well. But we'll keep the other couple spare. Looks good so far. Got 2 screens on the go at work. Takes some getting used to. Oh yeah, I've got the dual screen at work. I'm used to that, but I can't afford it in this setup yet, unfortunately. Will be something to go forward. Will James Collins start for Ireland? I mean, he should do, but I doubt it. I saw the stat of the weekend. He's the first Irish player to have 3 shots on target in a game since he played. Was it a home to Bulgaria? Something silly like that. And you've got like Ronan Curtis, who's an average League One striker, coming on before James Collins, who's scoring in the Championship. It's a bizarre setup. I just don't think Stephen Kenny fancies him, so I don't think he'll start. Charlie, in your opinion, Rooney will possibly relegate the club? Yeah, it's. I said it'd be close. I think they will still survive, but it does worry me. I think if Mel Morris decides to appoint a manager, which I think he won't because of the new owners, he'll pick a big name like Rooney. John Terry was recommended. Yeah, we discussed him at length as well, but it's a gamble. And my argument was, if you look at John Terry now, he's in a good job with a good side doing well in the Premier League. Why on earth would he come to a club that off the pitch is in the headlines for all the wrong reasons all the time? You do have to wonder. The only hope that Derby fans have got, if John Terry's the man you want, is that Lampard puts in a good word, but there's a lot going wrong. Craig, when is the podcast going live? Which one? Country, not county. Favourite country apart from England? Well, I've got Irish blood, so I'd have to say Ireland is the one I would go next. Gary, did you check the rules to see if you can do 5 subs in this league? You can't do it in the EFL. As a Luton fan, I know this season in the EFL and the Premier League, it's 3 subs. But yes, obviously you're referring to that because I got fooled in the Scottish saves for 26 of our 27 league games. So for anyone who hasn't seen the head coach today, I won't spoil anything that happens on the pitch. But the one thing that did happen is that I discovered I could have been making 5 subs all season. It was quite an entertaining moment when I did as well. So Lee Evans and Caelan Hines not quite fit. Hines is in a great rich vein of form. He scored from the header from the long throw from Shotton. He also scored his first goal for Jamaica as well. So I want to keep him positive and in there. Otherwise, I think it's the same squad. I'd like to have Palmer on the bench, but the loan rules suggest otherwise. Carlos Sanchez has sort of dropped out a bit now. I'm going to go with the same 11 because they played really well. So let's just try and get on the front foot. Cocker had a torrid time with Derby. Mess with Lawrence Bennett and Keogh. Yeah, that situation was a mess, wasn't it? Ironically, Richard Keogh was in our matchday vlog the other week playing for Milton Keynes. Problem with the stadium and the EFL. And then, of course, this year, bottom of the league. Yeah. I mean, it was always going to end that way. The thing I didn't get, to be honest, was the thing about the style of football because he's always played that way. If you watch that, even when he had that really strong PSV side doing well in the Champions League, like with the Atletico Madrid, they lost on penalties, but they drew both legs 0-0. It was always that sort of keep possession defensive setup, similar to, I guess, a Van Gaal at United, which is what it's often compared to. But even when I watched you against Hull in January, it was uninspiring. The fact you only scored 2 goals against Luton was a miracle at the time. And then this season, you didn't look great against us either, so I can see why it's happened. As Shotton puts a long throw in straight at the keeper. Not enough bodies in there, I'm afraid. Yeah, and you're talking as a same fan there. It's the worst time to become manager of Derby. And that's why we said sort of an Eddie Howe or a John Terry will just say, actually, is this the right move for me now? As Caelan Hines has got in, can he get the goal? Oh, he's at the post. Gave the keeper the eyes and then just missed it, unfortunately. But Derby will be all right. I'd love them to get Pearson back. I think he'll prove so many people wrong. And he's what you need against the current ownership. But it seems most Derby fans think they're above him, unfortunately. Wrexham game tonight with the new owners. I forgot you're playing, because Saturday's game got called off. It was supposed to be on TV. They replaced it with Eastleigh Hartlepool, and then that got abandoned at half-time because there was a storm the whole game, as Caelan Hines scores again, and the pitch just became treacherous. It was hilarious to watch, but you've got to feel for these non-league clubs, putting so much effort to get the game on and then have it abandoned. It's really tough, but I don't know, is there a National League game on TV this midweek? I don't think there is. Anything. So the podcast, Craig, the championship predictions are back on Thursday morning. We'll have an interview over the weekend. Gary McSheffrey, which I did this morning, will be out next week. And we guest starred on another podcast, which I'll link to on this channel as well once it comes out. Callum Lang scored again. We've got goals in us now. And at home, we're just starting to build a little fortress, which is nice. Charlie, have you decided on an advent calendar yet? Unfortunately, we've had to go boring. Because we're not obviously able to go to shops for routine visits, when we got our shopping delivered, we just had to get the standard Cadbury's. It was the only one that was on there. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's boring this year, I'm afraid. Craig, mint chocolate. Oh, you've nailed that. You've won advent calendar wars on this channel. Certainly in this stream. Samurai, my team isn't suited to the style. We always mess up with the passes and the mistakes in defence. Yeah, you see, it's quite hard on this game. And that's the one thing I would say, actually, with this save, with, I suppose Bangor not so much, but there's not much competition in the second tier so far. With this save and Breakin in the head coach, we've been playing fairly direct. And Bangor, we've been playing as the only professional club at our level. So it's hard to tell whether a fluent footballing game will work. I hope Season 2 I'll get to find out with Bangor, but it's interesting. Direct style's certainly working, and good to see the long throw come into the party. Again, we'll try and get 70 into Satut. We'll try and rest Lee Evans a bit, as Hines is in from a brilliant ball there. I think it was Billy Gilmore who played it. A stunning pass through, and he's looking like a star already, as Hare picks it up on the right for Bristol Rovers. I'm sure that's the same Josh Hare we had at Cliftonville at the end of the last series in FM20. He's a bit younger here, and he's got a bit more pace about him. As Palmieri knocks it clear, I'm starting to feel confident. Don't forget, we went from favourites to get relegated to second favourites for promotion. And Jack Clark's in here, but he's been caught. Not got that composure in front of goal, I'm afraid. Thank you to everyone coming in as well. Lovely to be well into double figures, even into week 2. Please do chuck a thumbs up if you haven't already. If you're one of the 9 or 10 who haven't said anything, come and get involved in the chat. It's all fun and games here. But it's lovely to have you along this evening. Even if you want to let us know what you're having for dinner. Anything exciting. At least how I, as a person whose only real tactical knowledge of a video game, thinks it. See, I've always traditionally been a sort of wing play player, as we've just conceded an awful goal via Josh Vickers. Because I'm often starting in the National League in South in England, where you've often got the sort of classic 4-4-2, and you're just trying to get balls in the box. I guess the same in Northern Ireland with Cliftonville. We had the same at Macclesfield to an extent in FM20. And we're in danger of throwing this away here. Vickers claims the cross, and we're going to have to think about subs. Because the midfielders are knackered, and we're getting ourselves in a bit of trouble. Lang loses out in the air there. Off a ball wins it to Evans, to Gilmore. Over the top, can Lang settle it for us? We could really do with a third here. And Lang's shot's blocked, back to Hines, to Gilmore. Through to Jack Clark, there's the goal. That is stunning. Almost applauding Billy Gilmore's through ball. What a player he is going to be for us. He's already looking like the star. And my problem is here, Satook could really do with a rest, but there's 3 others who need one as well. So Tunnicliffe on for Lee Evans is a cert. Caelan Hines we can give a rest to. We've got Nathan Dyer or Otterball. I think we're going to go for Otterball's pace in behind, particularly the way we're playing. I think Gilmore for the weekend is more important, but I haven't got a midfielder on the bench. So what do? Do I go Abate? I think I'm going to go Abate. I'm going to put Offerbore in the middle, who's not really a playmaker. And Tunnicliffe isn't really either, but he's better at it than Offerbore. And then we'll put Satoot into the holding role just to try and rest the legs a little. So that's what we're going for. 3-1 up, loads of experience on. And we've got to reward Tunnicliffe for his training, and just because he's at Luton in real life. I noticed that through balls work better this year. Yeah, they look great as well, to be fair, don't they? Which is good. Did anyone see the edit I got on Twitter for the news? I didn't actually. I'll have to go and have a look. I've not really been active on Twitter on Load FM the last couple of weeks, because obviously I've been so busy with the game. I'll just chuck out a quick I'm live now. Twitter, not news, sorry. I was going to say, I don't know how you got news on the autocorrect there. Why have Tranmere not appointed a manager yet, or is Ian Dawes doing a good job? Well, he has done a good job. That winner at the weekends, that comeback, unbelievable. But it looks like the Cowleys, doesn't it? And I'm guessing it'll be a negotiation over money. But I will say this, as we've scored a 4th as well, if Mark Palios, the first boardroom person at any football club to speak to our podcast, an absolutely top gent, if he pulls off the Cowleys in League 2 with Tranmere, he's won League 2 this year. He's sorted them out. He's done it early enough as well. So if he pulls that off, fair play to him. Tranmere will be up. I can assure you of that if it happens. And obviously, the club have really helped us, Tranmere. Their fans on the podcast were brilliant with the vlogs for the 2 FA Cup ties at Wickham and at Watford, the interview with the chairman. And I've got a soft spot for Tranmere ever since that, and I'm sure most of the lads have as well. So I'd love them to do well, and I'd love them to get the Cowleys in, because they'll do a great job. Or they'll both do a great job, sorry. Still on the interview quest. Yeah, so I did one this morning with Gary McSheffrey, a former Luton legend, or a Luton star, I should say. I've got one on Thursday with Scott Laird, formerly of Preston, Stevenage and Plymouth. And I've Tranmere in the National League in your save. Wow, I don't know how that's happened. Really good side Tranmere have got. They should be up there. They had a poor start. So they lost their manager to Dundee United in the summer, ironically. Who, by the way, are winning our vote for the live stream series after this finishes. That would start next week. But then they put the assistant in charge, and it just didn't work out, unfortunately. So he's gone, and now it looks like the Cowleys are the favourites for the job, which, to go down to League 2 after keeping Huddersfield up from nowhere last year in the Championship, would be some hell of an appointment. Cowley was the person who took over from you at Derby when you got sacked. So you've probably got an irrational hatred of him. I always end up like that. Whichever managers take over from me. I think it was the start of FM19 when I got sacked from Hemel and then Dungannon. And I just hated the managers who took over afterwards. We only got sacked once in FM20. I don't know if it will happen this year. The Cowleys aren't known for their beautiful football, but they'll probably be up there with them. They'll definitely be up there. And I have a real... And I know, Charlie, you've hit on a good spot here. This whole beautiful football thing. Because it was always pointed at like an Allardyce and people like that. People like JJ Okocha and Galacticos like Campo and Hierro, they don't go to a long ball team. There's a difference between ugly football and playing more direct. Playing more direct can be successful. It can be great. It can look good. If you've got someone like an Okocha dropping into deep midfield and then playing 30-yard through balls, that's direct. It's not ugly to watch. So, yeah, I always try and get the distinction there. Interesting, Darren Ferguson's been sacked and Simon Grayson's in charge of Peterborough. So I wonder if they'll have a little charge up the league. They're not actually doing that badly. Johnson Clark-Harris rated superbly in this game. And if it wasn't for Lelujo doing it every year when he starts the beta because he's a posh fan, I would have a go with them one year, but it'll dwarf the views for anyone, I'm afraid. He's that good. But that's the thing, this league is so tight that managers are getting sacked for nothing. But back-to-back wins to start, we cannot complain. We're 1 point off the playoffs with a game in hand, and 9 points off the top, and well clear of relegation. And don't forget, that's the aim this season, is to stay up, because we had that lack of takeover at the start. While I moved to Forest. Did you actually go to Forest? That's a bold move if you did. It's always something I've thought about in-game. It popped up briefly last year. Is what will I do if I get offered the Watford job? Because in the head coach or something, you think the realistic move is to take it. But I want it to be as close to real life as possible. And I think genuinely, if I'm making the moves up the game in real life, would I accept the Watford job? I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. And I don't know unless I was on the spot there. I probably would never be able to answer it honestly. You know, I'm not just going to lie and say, oh, I'd never manage that. I'd say no. If you're a manager looking for a job and the only offer is Watford, I don't know. I'd consider it. So it'd be interesting when it came up in a head coach. Carl, when's Darren Ferguson going back? He'll be there within a year or two. Quite often in FM, managers go back for a second stint, don't they? So I think Darren Ferguson, it'll be a 4th or 5th, but yeah, he'll definitely be back there at some point, won't he? We'll have to holiday after this year and see how many years before he's back. It was my only actual alternative suggestion for a long-term live stream series because the other 4 are so close together. Dundee United is winning now, but it's very close between all 4. Is that we could look to see what jobs are here at the end of the season. Lee Bowyer's been sacked as well. Maybe the Luton job's there. Maybe one of the 4 jobs we were looking for is there and we could take it a year in. But we'll see. If there's a clear winner, it'll be easy enough. You don't even hate Watford, so you take it. Yeah, you're probably right, Tom, to be honest. I don't have this thing of hating the arch rivals, but yeah, I don't know if I take it. I genuinely don't know until it happens. You went off for a few seconds. Not to worry. These things happen. Thankfully, touch wood and everything else, since we've had the internet changed over, we've been smooth as. Everyone who was here in FM20 will know we had a few issues towards the end. I retired my manager and just put him in a Noah's Forest. I did it because my save on YouTube and it was going to be the only way I could keep it going. No, that's fair enough. It does leave a dilemma, doesn't it? Like, I always take the risk with a one club story. And touch wood, I haven't ever been sacked from one yet, but it does leave you in a bit of a quandary if you don't have a backup, doesn't it? But I tried Luton last year and I know it wasn't the best time for me making content, but it's not a series I can do on video because I get too frustrated and mull over decisions. That's why I put it in the live stream options this year, just so I had the sort of, it wasn't as hands-on. I'm not as invested in it as I would be in a video series. So despite Caelan Hines not quite being fit, but it is an FA Cup tie. When's the next league game? Tuesday night. So actually I'm going to rotate as much as I can. Although financially, are the club going to be mad if I don't go for the 3rd round? What's the club vision expectation? Hopefully it's 2nd round, because otherwise we're in trouble. I've got a feeling it's going to say 3rd. Right, it's just be competitive. So we've done that. The finances are great under the Tycoon. So let's focus on the league. I know it's not what people are going to want to see today, but we're going to rest some people for the FA Cup. I'm going to completely clear the squad. And we're going to go near enough full rotation. So Abate will come in at right back for fitness. The same for Tom Pearce at left back. Centre halves will be Johnson and Craney. What else can we do in the middle? I might even put Cal Naismith in. We'll wait and see. In a holding role, Carlos Sanchez is back. In midfield, Tunnicliffe deserves a game. Matty Palmer deserves a game. You could play all the loanees in the cup, of course. Up front, Joe Garner. And out wide, it will be Otterball and Nathan Dyer. So that leaves me then centre-half, Craney or Naismith. I think I'm going to go for Naismith because he's the better ball-playing defender. Craney's a little bit slower as well. So that'll be the 11. We'll pick some subs as well. Thank you for all the extra thumbs up and views. We're nearly at 20 now as well. Great to have you all here. 1 thumbs up away from double figures. So if you haven't yet, please do chuck one on there. It does make such a difference. If you're popping in late, no need to worry. There's a full stream replay available afterwards. And we've got FA Cup action as well. So thank you for your incredible support. I never expected to have so many in the live streams. It's great to see. L Gaming Dundee United's winning the live stream. It's about 5% ahead of Stevenage. And then Ballymena and Luton just behind that. But it's still really close. Thank you. Appreciate your support. It's so great. It looks like Dundee United. Just started a Wigan save. Just wondering if I'll eventually get taken over. Jack, thank you for coming in. So that's what happened here. The first 5 weeks was excruciating in episode 1 because we couldn't get players in, even on free agent deals or even on like loan deals or anything like that. Then we got a tycoon takeover or a tycoon-led consortium. So we were able to bring a few players in on free agent deals because we had a bit of wage available. So you will get taken over, but try not to scratch your laptop screen in the first few weeks because we were losing some of our players on loan. I think we got down to 14 in the end. So you'll have a frustrating while, but there is a takeover eventually. It's just the luck of the draw which one you get, and you probably won't get the same as me, I'm afraid. Last minute in a game, 2-2, never a pen, and he gave it and they scored. Well, people were saying last week there weren't enough pens, so hopefully that's a good thing. And Craig, on that subject, worst refereeing decision you've ever seen? So it's one of your friends, actually, named Dean. I used to play in a youth team with his brother, who we also played with for a while. And because he had this thing against his brother, he gave a goal against us for a ball that had gone over the line. And I kid you not, it had only just entered the 6-yard box. It was dribbling past the keeper. It got just past the 6-yard line. His brother cleared it, and then he gave the goal, saying it across the line. So that is the worst I'd seen. We've talked on the streams once before about the sending off I got for telling people to stop moaning at the ref. So I won't go over that one again. But yeah, they're among the worst probably. So I think we've rotated here just as much as we can. Even then, no place for Offerball. No place for Gardner, sorry. But complete rest for Offerball, for Shotton, for Evans, for Hines. Oh, we've got Joel Lynch we can bring in. I didn't even think of him at centre-half. So Naismith's going to be on the bench as well. He will be there instead of Palmieri. It's just whether Naismith or Pearce is better at left-back. I think it's probably Pearce, to be honest. Certainly defensively. I think that's the lineup we're going to go for. So let's go and get into it. It's Shrewsbury v Wigan. And actually our backup team is probably as good as what was available at the start before we had the takeover. Let's just catch up with the chat. Tom, a whole game of shocking decisions. Arsenal at Old Trafford when the unbeaten run ended. Well, you would say that. I'm not going to comment because it will just annoy you. Hamoud, welcome along. Nice to see a new face in. Thanks for coming and joining. Get Ali Al-Habsi back. I'd love to. He's a brilliant keeper. Really underrated. Unfortunately, we don't use the player search or staff search screen, so we can only bring players back if they come up organically, whether that be via scout reports, whether that be by transfer rumours for us seeing them play against us. What I will do, though, is see if I can have a look at him. I'm not sure if he'll still be in the game. He is. He's a coach. Oh, so he's retired. So 38 years of age, but yeah, he was always a very good keeper. I didn't realise he was at West Brom last season. Was he a third choice / youth coach? I know a lot of players go down that route. But yeah, I always liked him as a goalkeeper. So let's get the boys to prove a point. Out to the first half we go. We might have to drop to balance shortly, we'll see. A corner early for Shrewsbury and a 1-0 up. And it's former Luton hero Dave Edwards. Welsh international. Past his prime perhaps, but a quick easy goal there. They also signed Josh Daniels from Glenavon, who was a bit of a star against us often last season in the Cliftonville save. Where is he there? He's on the outside subs. Oh, he's not really had an upgrade. It's a bit of a shame, really. But yeah, that cup tie's not started well, has it? It's gone as if we've rested the whole team. Let's catch up with the chat. Jack, you probably get the worst. To be honest, it's a 1 in a million shot to get the one we got. So We have to accept that we're just lucky. Let me know if there's any goals as well, because I'm reading the chat rather than seeing what's happening live. L Gaming, that's the worst decision I've seen. Come off it, Tom, it was a pen. I'm talking about the Reds that weren't given more than a pen. Neville Bros were kicking Rayers into next week. That's true. That is true, but that happened a lot back then. The offside goal for York against Luton is the worst. That wasn't a million miles off, was it? That was an awful one. Nathan Dyer's here, and he's just missed a sitter. But good play from Palmer to get him in. Thank you for all being so active in the chat as well. Great to have you all along. RVN on Ashley Cole? Yeah, potentially. I just want to say it because I don't like United. You know me, I don't hate my rivals, so I'm not going to worry about other clubs. Tom and Craig are agreeing. Mike Riley in charge of referees. That I will agree on. It's probably not the best move. Craig and Charlie fell out with Keith Hackett because Keith Hackett threatened to sue Charlie. It wasn't the best refereeing display, Tom, but I would say I've seen more bent refereeing displays than that. Worst refereeing decision I've seen is a Derby player faking getting punched and an opposition player getting a red. They were miles away from each other as well. Oh, there's been some great dives in the time as well, hasn't there? That rules some out. You might know the guy who dived. It was Idiakes. Yeah, he was our first team coach till last year. He was a star coach in our League One promotion. Unfortunately, he got sort of banded in with the Graham Jones era at the first half of last year. But I always liked Idiakes. Did a really good job with us. Seemed like a nice bloke as well. And I always used to like him at Derby. I never knew he faked getting punched. I'm going to have to look that up afterwards. It'll probably make me laugh. But he was a good player. He's another one I'd quite like to interview, actually. Ball's into the box. Lynch down. And we're out the FA Cup. So this becomes an exercise of getting people minutes now, I'm afraid. Yeah, as Craig says, former coach of ours. What happened with Charlie and with that ref? So we had a series. It was based on a book called You're the Ref, or You Are the Ref, from Keith Hackett and an artist. So we were inspired by it. We made a little series about it. We said how great we thought the book was, and we talked about some of the refereeing scenarios. And what I did is ask Craig and Charlie for their opinions before giving the actual answer, as Matty Palmer pulls one back. Great assist from Nathan Dyer. So we just publicised it on Twitter. He copied them into it and said, we love the book. We've done it's inspired a little series of ours. And Keith Hackett came back and said, you need to rename that or we're going to sue you. So that ended that love affair with that book. Charlie Daniels, the former Bournemouth man, assigned for Shrewsbury here. He's rated exceptionally for League One level. Is he actually there in real life or is he a free agent? When did he sign for them? Oh, this doesn't help me. I need to know transfers. So it says no transfers yet, so he must have been there at the start. Otherwise, it would be written in there. We've got a core of the game to go. I'm going to make some changes to try and get back into this, because it's been a pretty even game. Oh yeah, I remember that game, Tom. The Oxlade-Chamberlain Kieran Gibbs debacle. Poles 3 yellows, yeah. I mean, the good thing with that Gibbs-Chamberlain one is that at least it didn't affect the game, because it was already out of sight. Can we interview Howard Webb? I don't think he'll want to come on after seeing our referees' discussions. Yeah, you've seen the series. Yeah, so that was the one that caused it. I met him in real life, showed me around the changing rooms when my granddad bought me a present of being one of the mascots when I was 8 or 9. Oh, that's good. I mean, referees, I've said this quite a lot. Referees do get a bad rap. I try not to get involved in they're awful generally. Of course, they can all have an awful game. So can players. But generally, they've got the hardest job. And they're the most important people to football. So we have to be careful with our criticism to an extent. I'm bringing on 2 subs at the back, Naismith and Craney. I'm going to bring Gary Roberts on as well somewhere. Just because he's a goal scorer. So I'm going to put him as the advanced playmaker in centre midfield. And Matty Palmer will go box to box. But if we get a free kick, Gary Roberts will score it. That's why he's coming on. Let me catch up with the chat again. Can you interview me? Potentially later down the line. We did some with fans. So we did some with Tom and that. Obviously at the moment, it's gone mad. We've got loads of footballers and media people and that in. I mean, Charlie's doing one tonight or tomorrow night, I think. And then I've got another one Thursday. We had one today. We've got another 2 or 3 next week. So at the moment, it's crazy the amount of people who are saying yes to us. And I think it's just because they see some of the others. We don't look for anything controversial. We're just genuinely interested in their story. But yeah, there's no reason if later in the future we wouldn't go back to fans again. And we're looking into longer term doing live streaming via that as well. So I think it's something that could happen in the future again. Thoughts on celebrity refs? What's that? Am I being an idiot? I might well look stupid in a moment. Tell me about celebrity refs. Are refs celebrities? Oh, so you're talking about the sort of Mike Dean thing. Oh, right, okay. Sorry, yeah. So, I mean, Mike Dean, when he went on the Peter Crouch podcasts, I know I'm plugging a different one now, but I thought he was really great. And referees aren't bad bugs. I don't mind if they want a little bit of they want to do stuff stylishly. It's not a problem for me. They do a job that we couldn't do. Samurai, what's the name of the podcast? It's Honest Football Podcast is our podcast. There's loads on there at the minute. We do championship predictions every week. I support Luton, you support Derby, so I'm sure there'll be something for us there. But it's grown really quickly. Again, I have to thank you for that. When we went into lockdown, we had 150 odd subscribers, and now we're past 600. We've interviewed nearly 40 pros or non-league footballers. It's been a dream come true. To speak to footballers about their careers has been great. And still the other fun stuff we do as well. It's a good laugh. It's been great during lockdown as well. Jonathan Moss having personalised boots. I thought the fuss about that was ridiculous. We have gone out the FA Cup. Of course he's going to have personalised boots. You know, they're not... didn't even know they weren't allowed to have external sponsors and things like players do. It's not right, really. Who cares if they want to have personalised boots? What impact does it have is my thought on that, to be honest. I know that will probably surprise you, Tom, because you assume me to be a different type of character, which I guess largely I am, but it really doesn't bother me on that one. We've got a big game coming up in a week against Lincoln. Don't know if we'll have time for Sunderland, but we'll try and get it in if we can. Sub to you, we'll watch the Derby vid when you have time. Appreciate it. I mean, the reaction videos... It's quite a hard thing, really, because we're doing it quite quickly on the spot without all the information. And it's just trying to give a general view. We're not here to slag fans off. We're not here to make people more interesting. But yeah, as Craig says, I don't think we'll be popular after this week's prediction show. Carl, used to ref myself and got to know Conference North. Wow. That's pretty remarkable. Do you have a favourite refereeing moment or a favourite game at that level you refed? That's mad. Refereeing in the 6th tier is incredible. You could have been in Football Manager if you were doing it now. Bloody hell, you kept that one quiet. That's a great achievement. Whose idea was it to make the podcast, and how did the three of you decide to do it together? So I believe it was Craig and Charlie's idea. And they sort of said, I've known you from football. You've got knowledge of different football levels, and we think you'd be good for it. So I came and joined them, and there we started. The first year and a half, we didn't have a clue what we were doing, which is very well reflected in the videos we made, or the audios we made, because we didn't have video then. But lockdown's really focused us. We've got a clear definition now. So this year's content is match day vlogs, it's professional interviews, and predictions and topical podcasts, which are reactions. So it's great. Moss used to teach James Milner. Is that genuinely true, Craig, or are you having a laugh? Did I tell you Moss has a vinyl shop in Headingley? That's brilliant. And again, people moan because they have interests out of football. What do you expect them to do? They're human beings. So, no, I'm a big fan of referees. They get too much of a hard rap. VAR's ruined their life because of the way it's been implemented, and they're not in charge of that. You saw the other day, it's Neil Swarbrick, the head of VAR, and he was telling off one of the referees, and it was seen on camera. I mean, do it privately. It was the equivalent of the Phil Brown team talk on the pitch. Let's catch up with the chat again. Me and Charlie decided to do one, recorded one before we asked Daniel because we knew he'd love to talk about football. Absolutely right. Yeah, so spot on. And that's it. And we've all got a similar, we have very different views on probably how the game should be played, the styles we like. When we're playing whatever Pro Evolution Soccer on a Friday night prior to lockdown, we had the old video games out, and Craig used to hack me and Charlie to bits, and it used to do our heads in. But we've all got the same love for football. We love different areas of football, which helps. Obviously, I follow Luton mainly home and away, so I've got the championship knowledge. Craig watches lots of the EFL football on the TV. I watch a lot of the National League football. Charlie loves Northern Irish football. And me and Craig love non-league football. So we've got so much different perspective. And, you know, it gives us more people to go and watch football with, doesn't it? So it's worked out very well. And now we've worked out we can actually do matchday vlogs at the football. It's opened an avenue for us. Hamoud, keep up what you're doing. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Lovely to see a new face in the comments as well. It's always great to see new faces in and amongst the regulars. We're growing really quickly. You know, there's nothing... It's a family-friendly channel. We try to keep things as nice as possible. So hopefully... You know, you can't make everyone happy, but hopefully we'll be able to help people enjoy it. So we've got to go back to picking our first team for this Lincoln game. Now, they were flying at the start. Where are they now? They're up in 5th. So with a win, we overtake them. But let's get the first 11 out, and then I'll pop back to the chat. So Satut's back in. It's going to be close between him and Abate at right back. Shotton's long throw. Tilt, who we're going to try and sign permanently in January. Solve some of this loan problem. I'll do the same with Tunnicliffe as well. I'm hoping the Tycoon might free up some transfer budget then. Palmieri on left back. Holding rolls off a ball. I mean, the 11 writes itself now, which is great. Lee Evans, Billy Gilmore. And who are the wingers? We've got to go for the same 3, haven't we, I think? Do we, don't we? Jack Clark, Caelan Hines and Callum Lang. Who was my midfielder before that? I don't think it was Clark, was it? I can't even remember. It was 2 games ago. My memory's awful. It was Jack Clark. He scored 2 goals. I'm not taking him out. He's going to hate me for that, isn't he? So on the bench, let's go for Abate, Naismith. Naismith's there mainly because he's versatile. Tunnicliffe because he's training well, he's playing well. He's still doing okay. Why has the training report disappeared? Let me get that back on there. Oh, he's gone down this week. How's Sanchez doing? He's better. So I might have to bring Sanchez back onto the bench. Or it could be Palmer again. He scored in the FA Cup. So let's have Palmer back in on the bench. We'll then have Dyer, Otterbor, Garner. And then I think Sanchez anyway in there. Joel Lynch will miss out this time, I think, unfortunately. He's done well, but he's 33. We've got to look after him a bit. And that's the squad we're going to go for. Into the Lincoln game we go. 4 for the day, and we will get Sunderland in after this as well. We'll stay on till after that game. It's called the Vinyl Whistle. Oh, that's brilliant. If he came up with that name, all is forgiven for the personalised boots, even if you don't like them. Craig's a fan of that as well. You should do a Wrexham takeover podcast. We thought about it, but there's not enough knowledge of it around, really. We'd only be saying what everyone else says. It's not something you can give an opinion on so much. And obviously, it hasn't gone through yet. That's the main thing. If it goes through, perhaps, but it hasn't. So I don't know about that one. Possibly not. We would have Conference North, Unibon, Prem and South, all the way down to Midlands Alliance. Depending on your marks, we'd have the better games. Salford a few times. I guess because they've had a rise since. Would you have had any games at Fleetwood at the time? Because they would have been down there. Who else were coming back through? I guess how many years ago was it? Because that would depend on whether like it was Wimbledon on the way back, Hereford. You could have had some cracking sides down there. Only thing we're lacking is... Oh, and Harrogate as well. Thinking now. Only thing we're lacking is PES 2 content. Yeah, it's such an old game. It's very hard to get content recorded for it. But I think it would probably lose us a few of the younger viewers because we'd have to put the swearing warnings on it. For Charlie in particular when you hack him down. Favourite football match I've ever been involved in? I probably have to say we played under 11s. We played in a tournament called the Kellogg's Cup. I don't know what it's called now. Or if it's still going. But it was a school tournament for year 6. And we got to the semi-finals nationally, our school. And we were representing Luton. We played against, I think it was Tottenham Hotspur. And we beat them 2-0. We had Jordan Patrick up front, who went on to play for Luton a few times. And we just had a brilliant team. But I got man of the match that tournament. The games were played on Swindon's pitch. From penalty area to penalty area. It was just a brilliant day. And I personally had a brilliant tournament. So it meant a lot to me. But yeah, that one. The other one I would pick is as a result of that, we got to play on the pitch at Kenilworth Road at half time in front of a near full house on a Tuesday night. So that was incredible as well. So one of those two, I'd say. It's been a pretty even game here, but we're going to drop to balanced. We're going to go and make some changes. Caelan Hines not had a good game this time, struggling physically. So is it going to be Otterbor or Dyer? I think Nathan Dyer today. Gilmore's had an average game in the middle, so Palmer can come on for him. And Satut's on a yellow and physically just off. So Abate on. And there'll be the 3 changes with 20 left. We'll keep an eye on it. But if a point's a good result in this one. When did you get Gilmore? He came on loan deadline day, which I think was either the last episode or the one before. Might have been Sunday, actually, yeah. But loan deadline day, the director of football brought him in. It had to be an under-21 because of our squad. We didn't have any places in the senior squad, and you don't have to register under-21s. So he was the one who came in, and he's been brilliant so far. So a 0-0 draw at Lincoln. I'm actually quite pleased with a clean sheet. And I think we look really solid. We've got Sunderland away next to have had a poor start. What a finish that'll be. Then we'll play the basement side Wimbledon off camera. Because obviously we've mentioned we've got to get through a few. Because I think that's before a little break, is it? Let's have a look. So we've got Wimbledon away, Accrington and Rochdale, who are all sides that are expected to be down there. So I might play all 3 of them off camera and then come back for the crazy Christmas period tomorrow night. We'll see how it goes. Let's get through the Sunderland game though. We'll judge it after that. Thank you for all your support as well. Still in double figures after an hour. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for all coming along. It's been great. Probably the most active chat we've had. So thank you. So many new faces as well as all the regulars. It's great to see you all here. And we've got the thing that's probably been asked for the most recently, which is to show a recruitment meeting. So we'll go and do that as well in a second. That's brilliant, El Gaming. Through on goal and I hack him down. Yeah, he does every single time. You were a decent footballer when you were young. I was all right. I wouldn't say I was brilliant. I was a Sunday League centre-half and was good at that level, but not more. More because I was a leader and a talker, but I never had the physical attributes or the technical ones. But school-wise, I was a goalkeeper in a very good team. We had three of our, because it was 7 aside then, 3 of our players were on the books at Luton. 1 obviously went on to the first team. So yeah, we were a really good side. And I think 6 out of the 7 of us had a trial at Luton at some point. Unfortunately, injuries put pay to that, so I'll never know if I would have got in and improved. But if I'm being honest, I don't think I ever would have made it, to be brutally honest. And Craig and Charlie, certainly better players than me. 8 years ago, had Leamington Spa, had Gateshead and had to send off Ian Bogey, which was nice for being a Stoke fan. So at that level of refereeing, my last question, sorry to keep bugging you on it, is do you have to give your allegiances and all that sort of thing still? Just even to make sure you don't have players that used to play for those clubs or whatever, I don't know. Wouldn't be sent too far though because of the travel. Yeah, fair enough, that makes sense. Charlie loves playing 1-2s with himself. Yeah, so when we played a Pez, the thing we haven't mentioned, Craig plays by himself because no one wants to play with him, the style of play he puts in place. And then me and Charlie play the same. That's on the same team. And he always does 1-2s and just takes me out of the game. So I had a trial at Luton, but it never went any further than that. It was only a 1-day trial. And it was off the back of that team. We basically all got a trial. Did Craig and Charlie? I don't know about Craig actually. Charlie had trials at various clubs and was involved in a couple of setups. So I think he was at MK Dons and Havant and Waterlooville, if I'm not wrong. Very briefly. Right, so here we go. This is the recruitment meeting. Let me show you this quickly. These are the players they're suggesting we improve. So we're going to take some off of here because we don't need wingers. We've got loads at the club. A ball-playing defender would be great. So we're seeing if there's an alternative before we extend Che Tilt's loan. And a defensive midfielder wouldn't go amiss because we could push off a ball into the middle and that would be nice. Any other positions we'd like to improve? Probably goalkeeper. So I'm going to add that in as well. But otherwise, I'm really happy with the squad. So let's get started. Let's see the reports for holding midfield. This guy looks good from Ingolstadt. More of a ball winner, which doesn't suit us. And anything with a transfer fee at the moment, we can't do. Madinga on a free, we looked at. Madianga, sorry. But he's not good enough to risk. We would have loved the guy from Metz, but he rejected us to go there. Ben Close, a hero with Salford in FM20. But all of these are transfer fees and we can't pay them. Who's this? Jeremy Grimm. 33 years old. Don't really want another older one, but we'll scout him. Oh, we can't do that because it's outside the status, but we'll give him a trial at least. Bradley Johnson, he'll be too old by the time his trial goes. And it's only 1 year. His contract, sorry. So let's go and scout 3.5 start. And we'll look at that. The same then for ball-playing defender. So let's see the reports. Financial fee, playing a Hyderabad in the Indian Super League. Perth Glory. Stephen Welsh. Look who it is. We had him at Cliftonville and then sent him to Larne. Sean McLaughlin, we had at Cliftonville. Then sent him back to Luton, my beloved Luton Town. He's at our affiliate club Walcott, but he's not good enough. Skinner the same. So again, we'll search 3.5, but I think the most likely is we'll try and sign Tilt. We'll look at the other reports, but no one that we'll probably sign. Definitely not out of those two. So we'll not worry about that. And then the last is sweeper keeper. So because we've set that, there's none there. And we're just going to ask them to go and look for a month. And that's the recruitment meeting done. We've got a couple of players on trial. Did I organise that one? I didn't organise him, did I? I might have offered him accidentally, but it's Grim that we wanted. So let's bring him in and then let me catch up with the chat quickly. Thank you for the extra views as well. It's nice to see so many of you in this evening. Can you just see how Derby are doing and look if Mourinho's been sacked? Yeah, I mentioned this. I was watching Lelujo yesterday. I mentioned in his comments because they were about mid-table there. I can't remember which one it was, either Bangor or the head coach. They were about 15th. Fulham got into the Europa League, or were in the Europa League in February. They were about 6th. So let's have a look at the Premier League here. Obviously, it'll be quite early on, but let's see how it's going. Yeah, look, they're 19th. 4 points from 9 games. Why are they so poor in this year's game? I don't understand. They've got such a good team. I had them for second in real life. They're flying. They're title contenders. But every single time they're doing poorly in this save. They're so underrated. Burnley are up in 6th there. Yeah, I don't understand the Tottenham hatred from whoever was doing the stats and that. I think it's because they've signed players from further down the league. And they haven't really had an upgrade. I mean, Dele Alli had a massive downgrade. Ndombele, physically, he's had a bit of a downgrade. El Gaming, I'll have a look at Wrexham in a minute as well. You didn't. Oh, fair enough. Instead of using a keeper from an interview, you could add in goal Craig and Charlie. I think we've got an interview with a keeper now, so I think we're all right. If we're going to add a keeper for the podcast team, it'd have to be me, because I'm the keeper out of the three of us. And I'm not putting myself in the game, because that means then Craig or Charlie would have to manage, and I'm not having that. I was a Stoke fan, and what teams I played before or got injured. However, they can't really monitor who you played with, which causes an issue. Yeah, I suppose so. So how high up did you play, Cole? What level did you play up to? You're going to surprise me with that one as well. Booked a few of my mates who I played with. You got to do the dirty work sometimes, haven't you? Personal highlights, playing a football tournament in Holland against Ajax, PSV and Nat Breda. Yeah, it was quite a good thing Luton used to organise, didn't they? Youth-wise, you used to get tournaments in Holland via the schools. They were still doing that when I was at school 5 years after Craig. So yeah, then it was just the Luton youth team at that stage. Just playing in the FA Cup. Might be qualifying rounds, but still great atmosphere at non-league games. Yeah, that's the thing. Craig and Charlie were playing for Crawley at Step 5. So they were involved in the non-league. You'd have been the FA Vars as well. So yeah, definitely a thing I would love to have done. So absolutely, don't begrudge you saying that. If only that was real life. Yeah, Tom, I think Tottenham are going to finish well above you this year. Potential issue with Naismith. He's a Cliftonville hero. I don't want to upset him, but he's not good enough, I'm afraid. I'm going to offer him to loan him, and he's happy with that. I don't really want to do that, though. Let's have a look at Wrexham quickly. 16th Earl game. You won't be a fan of that. 14 points so far. Have they signed anyone? They have. Oh, look, you got Raquel Pike back. That'll cheer you up. Alex Perry and Charlie Jolly were loaned from us. They're not very good, which is probably why. Tommy Smith, that's a good sign as well. Oh, it's a different Tommy Smith, but he's still good. And a couple loaned out as well. So not too bad. I'm sure you're only a few points off the playoffs. I'm sure it'll turn round. Tottenham are going to win the league, Tom. I think they'll be close. I said second, and Tom and Greeny laughed at me. Yeah, Southampton stopped the count. That was good, wasn't it? I'm not even commenting on the politics. Yeah, I don't know if is Mourinho underrated. I haven't looked at his attributes at any stage. But the Tottenham team, I did think in parts were underrated. Maybe it's that, because Spurs have got quite a lot of younger players. And he's rated as 9 for that. But for me, I always thought that Tottenham are going to be right up there this year, and it seems to be the case as well. Bale's had quite a downgrade because of his last year at Madrid as well. But yeah, Mourinho's out. I think on the save where they were really struggling in mind, Bielsa took over. And I think Mourinho ended up at Leeds, if I remember. They just swapped jobs. I'll have to check that out afterwards, and I'll come back to you tomorrow. But we're nearly at the last game now. We will polish off today with Sunderland. So again, we'll be just past the hour and a quarter mark. Thank you so much for coming and spending your evening with me again. And it's going to be a big game away at one of the favourites for promotion. Stafford Rangers, Newcastle Town, but mainly reserves at Stafford as I was young. Fair play, they're good clubs though. I always love that. Like, people downplay non-league careers. I remember, if you talk about like our podcast most successful interview with Anthony Sarcevic, he talks about the happiest moments of his career, going released from an EFL club and going to play football. And he was in step 4, step 5 with Woodley Town and then with Chester when they were on their way back up. And he says they're some of the best days of their career. They made him back into an EFL player. So I would always say, don't put down your achievements if you've played in non-league. Absolutely not. I'm going to have to go and see if I can find you now. Earl Gaming won 16th. Yes, Ricard Pike. He was voted in your team of the decade, wasn't he? If I remember rightly. They'll bottle it when the pressure is really on them. They always do. No, not under Mourinho. As soon as they had that 3-0, he went, we're winning every game 1-0 now. And so far, he's largely stuck true to that. So Matty Palmer came on and did well. So I think he's going to keep his place on the bench. I'm going to have to sign Tunnicliffe permanently. I just need to get a small transfer fee to do it. A transfer budget, sorry. If we can get 1 or 2 off the wage bill, potentially we could. We'll have Will Keane leaving. There's one other that finishes in January as well. Can't remember who it is. But that's the 11 we're going for. We're going to stick the same because they've been playing really well. Same 11, same 18. Let's hope it's the same outcome. We'll take a point again here at Sunderland, like we did at Lincoln. And if we can get 3, great. Win the home games, draw the away games. That's the motto, isn't it? They've got Jordan Willis at centre-half, a man who rejected Luton in the Championship to go to League One 18 months ago. And he's still in League One, so that tells you. Will Grigg's on fire, but not today. He's on the bench. I'm sure a few Wigan fans would love me to have him back. And I'm pretty sure I'd love to have him back as well. Shall I go and see how he's doing? They're 13th at the moment. He's not really starting. He's okay, but he's struggling physically and he's on massive money. He's their best paid player there, bar Grant Ledbetter. There you go. Oh, they've got Jack Diamond as well on the bench. Now, he was at Harrogate last year. He basically won them promotion in that semi and final. He was brilliant. And he's had a massive upgrading game. But he's a top player. Let's get into the first half. We're at the Stadium of Light. A great ground to go to. Sunderland, a great bunch of fans, as we mentioned on Sunday. I'm sure Tom will vouch for that too. But we'll see how they're getting on. And we'll see how we get on against them. I'm not sure. United or Liverpool? What's that for? Liverpool are really struggling. Their back 4 basically decimated. They've got, I think Robertson's just back to fitness now. Lang header just wide. And to be fair, Sunderland sparsely populated there, and that's not fair on them. They put bigger attendances in than that, even in League One. It's been an even game so far, though. We're creating chances and on the front foot, and Shotton's got a long throw into Satoot. It's in. The long throw strikes again. And Carl, it's starting to happen now. You said it was working in Scotland well, and it's finally starting to happen in League One. The defence just could not cope with that one, and it's 1-0 Wigan. We'll certainly enjoy that one. It's a long throw for Sunderland though, is it? No, they go short. O'Neill puts the ball in. Maguire's there. Great header. Chris Maguire, a superb goal scorer for them. And still having a good job there. Talking about Sunderland, did any of you watch the series about them? No, I didn't. I'm not a fan of the modern one so much. And I haven't got the subscription, so I haven't. I know Craig and Charlie did. Tom, yeah, see, you loved Sunderland as well. I'd love to go back. In general, who do I prefer? Much for muchness. I'm so neutral about the Premier League. As we go ahead again through Callum Lang, I don't really have an affiliation with either. I mean, Liverpool were great to us with Luton when we played there. They gave us, when we were in administration, they gave us their half of the gate receipts to help keep us in business. So from that point of view, it was good. But in terms of the two clubs, I just like watching good football. So whoever's playing well, when it's neutral for Premier League and Championship, then fine. I wouldn't fancy being a referee now. It's about £150 to pass a course, and the changes in the laws are getting silly. You're absolutely right. I mean, when we were at school in year 11, we got offered the first one for free, so you could go and do the kids' games and that. It was part of the vocational courses. So I did that, and I did a few kids' games, but even then I hated it. Just the one or two parents. I didn't have any awful ones, by the way, but just they're getting a bit mouthy. I just went, really? Have you got time for that? And I was one of those, young, quite loud teenagers. I wasn't afraid to give my opinion. Just what are you going to do if I'm not here? Do you know what I mean? One of you lot's going to ref it, and then you're going to moan the cheating. So, yeah, that was always my thought on that. But I completely agree with you. Grassroots football is going to be sad for the way they treat referees, because can't live without them. The long through is superb, love it. Yeah, I think I've nailed it now. What are your thoughts on VAR from a ref's view? I think it's disastrous that they're seeing a lot of the things in slow motion. I think the way they're being... I don't think VAR is a huge problem. I think the way they've been asked to implement the rules is poor. The handball thing's a disaster, because it should be used for things that can't be subjective. There can't be decisions. Use it for offside. Use it for... And sort the offside rule out as well. What used to happen is just, if you were behind the last defender, you're offside. It used to be so easy. But, yeah, it shouldn't be used for subjective things, really. Because then you're now getting somewhere the refs have been sent to the screen, somewhere they're not for similar instances. And even VAR has become complicated. It should be a very simple thing, and it's become complicated again. So, I'd rather see it out the game. I was never one who complained about refs, but all those people saying, get rid of VAR, it's ruining the game. They're forgetting what they were saying 3 years ago. It's the other side of that. And I can understand why the referees would like it, because it takes the talking point away from them specifically and talks about VAR instead. So I get that side of it, and from a referee I'd probably be for it as a result, particularly at that level where there's so much scrutiny. Couldn't help but laugh at the end at Wembley. Oh, you're talking about the Sunderland documentary, aren't you? Gary, measuring things down to the millimetre drives me nuts. Yeah, I agree, because it's been proven, obviously, with the frame rate. It's a bit like my YouTube video. The frame rate is 60 per second, 25 when I'm streaming. So the difference is, when I'm doing a video, you're seeing what I'm seeing live. When I'm doing it here, you're seeing a chunk every however many bits of a second, 1/25th of a second. So there's going to be a potential huge move of the ball in that time. And that applies the same there. So it does really frustrate me, but it looks like we're going to win at Sunderland. I'd love to see it like cricket, with the umpire's call. If it's not within a certain amount, they can agree the maximum it could be within a frame rate and say it's 20 centimetres or whatever. And if you go by that, you go with whatever the linesman would have gone with. That's how I'd do it. Yeah, well, there you go. Well, I've just used cricket as an analogy after El Gaming said his bit, but that's my view on it. The umpire's call in cricket gives you that leeway of, well, the technology could be this many millimetres out, or the umpire could have seen this. And I think the same should go in football. Bamford's offside. There was one with Mane at the end of the derby, wasn't there? I'm sure it was Mane. Yeah, there's so many silly ones. And that's it. It's not the referee's fault. It's the rule. And it's not VAR's fault either. VAR's job is to implement the rule. And if the rule is it's at the armpit here, that's what's given. But a win against Sunderland is the perfect finish for us today, because we're back into the top six and we've got a game in hand. We're a bit off the top. Blackpool are flying. They were great against us and they're doing really well. Have they signed any big players? Not really. I know that Ballard, who they got in on loan, has had a real big upgrade. The Northern Irish kid. There he is. He looks a fantastic League One player. So we're going to do as we planned. We're going to play these 3 games off camera. That'll be AFC Wimbledon, Accrington and Rochdale. Then we'll be back for the tough away run over Christmas. So we've got Fleetwood, who are mid-table. Crewe, who are 11th. Who are the others? Shrewsbury, Burton and Swindon. Shrewsbury we lost to in the Cup. We need to get revenge. Burton are up in 2nd place. And Swindon are one of the relegation favourites. So that's going to be a good mix of teams, I think. Let me catch up with the chat very quickly before I polish off. Wow, you have 1,500 subs, 200 really quick. Yep, less than 2 weeks. So thank you so much for all the new faces and all the regulars for sticking by me. Do you think we should be able to listen to refs? Yes, definitely. The only referee we've interviewed on the podcast, Bobby Madley, did the trial of that for England in the Premier League trophy a few years back. and he spoke really well about it. They do it in Australia. It's revolutionary. At least you understand as a fan, and that's part of it. Mane Everton was shocking, yeah, agreed. Once we're all growing old, VAR will have been going for years, and I think all the younger people of football just see it as part of it. Yeah, potentially. You might not be wrong there. We're in a bad situation where it's new and people don't know what to expect. Agreed. And I can only hope it gets better for future generations. You've nailed it with a bit of wisdom to finish off the evening. Thank you so much for all of you coming along, making it the most active chat we've ever had over here. We'll be live every weekday for the rest of this week at 5:30. So tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. And Saturday and Sunday at 10:30am. And we'll finish the series on Sunday. Next week we'll then start the long-term live stream series. It'll only be a couple a week then. Probably Tuesday afternoon, which is my day off work. And a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning. But thank you all for coming along. Please chuck a thumbs up on it if you haven't already. I really appreciate your support with it. If you haven't yet, go and watch today's head coach. And Bangor City will be back tomorrow at 3:30. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow evening. Same time, same place. Thanks, L Gaming.